So in this tutorial, we are going to blend a paint pen sunset silhouette. So I'm working directly on my rock. There's no base coat here, which means we're going to probably need a couple coats of paint. So the first thing I like to do is just block out my colors. As you can see, I've got a yellow, a light orange, dark orange, and kind of a reddish orange that I'm placing down on my rock. So I'm just kind of sectioning out my colors first just to get the first coat of paint down. I also added in a little bit of clouds. Now we're going in with our second coat and we're stretching that second coat out to the edge of the next color. And while that paint is wet, we're going to go in with our next paint pen and we're just going to wiggle the paint together where it meets the second color, like the yellow and orange. We're kind of wiggling together, and then we're blending up into our next shade of orange, changing pens to our next orange. Again, second layer everywhere. When you meet up with the other color, just kind of wiggle at that seam and you'll start to get the blend just working with your paint pen tips. Now with the darker color, I'm going to come into the orange a little ways, fill in that space, and then come back with my orange and blend out so we don't have a harsh line. Now you can bring a brush into this situation. You don't want a bunch of water on the brush, but you do want it to be damp. You don't want to dry brush it. So you can just kind of swipe back and forth, very, very light pressure here. As you can see, if you use too much, you might pull up all of your paint, but that's okay because let this layer dry, go back in, add a little bit more paint on there. Work back and forth between your colors until you like the way that your sunset looks and you can't see the rock through. I still had a little bit of rock showing, so I did go back through and add a little bit more color in here. And again, just continue adding the color, blending them together. I do like the yellow to kind of have a little bit of shape to it, but I am blending the edges out into the orange a little bit more. Once you're happy with your sunset, you're gonna do your silhouette. And on this one, I'm just gonna do this fun tree with a couple owls. So fill in the bottom half of your rock. And using an extra fine tip paint pen, I'm placing my tree on my stone. Now I like to start way out at the tips of my branches and work my way back towards the trunk. And as you can see, you can slowly make that trunk area a little bit thicker. I wanted one branch hanging all the way out to the left so that I had space for my little owls. You can see a finished rock above there. That's what we're working towards. Now for my owls, I'm just going to show you real quick. They're very simple silhouettes. We're going to start with a U shape, then we're going to add on the ears, and then we're just going to fill it in. And of course, we wanted our owl to have a little friend. He didn't want to be hanging out alone out there. And then I did go back in and touch up my tree a little bit, and I added a little bit of texture along the ground just because I didn't want it to be a solid flat line. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you try blending a sunset with your paint pens.